Welcome to our 2024 presidential election coverage. Tonight we have another step of the election season, which is the primaries themselves. After a long, grueling campaign season, a lot of candidates are now ready to go into the first primaries. So let's check in on some of the polling first. As you can see in the polling for the Democratic Party, Kamala Harris has lost a ton of her support, going from around 30% to around 20%. Elizabeth Warren has gained, Pete Buttigieg has slightly dropped, and Andrew Yang has taken a strong 4th place. Meanwhile, Jon Ossoff is in 5th place, having gained a lot of support. Amy Klobuchar's support has also dropped, going from the top 4 to the the middle 4. Roy Cooper and AOC have both staked out pretty okay positions, but are relatively mediocre overall. And of course, we have the bottom 4, the Senator from Wisconsin, Tammy Baldwin, former Representative Tulsi Gabbard, former Representative Connor Lamb, and Julian Castro, the former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Tammy Baldwin was actually at 3% before, but had lost a ton of her support and is now at 1%. And as you can see for Iowa, it is neck and neck between Pete Buttigieg and Andrew Yang. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris has taken 3rd place, and Elizabeth Warren is right behind her. And for New Hampshire, Elizabeth Warren takes the lead over Pete Buttigieg by 3%. Andrew Yang is doing decently with 12%, and Jon Ossoff is taking a strong 4th place position. And in Nevada, Kamala Harris is doing very well, though Jon Ossoff is actually taking 2nd place, but he's pretty far behind. Meanwhile, Elizabeth Warren is doing very well, and Julian Castro, who was once in 2nd here, has dropped by nearly 15%. And in South Carolina, Kamala Harris is also doing very well here, and Roy Cooper takes 3rd place, which is one of the bigger surprises. Meanwhile, not as much as a surprise is Jon Ossoff's 2nd place. Elizabeth Warren currently holds 4th. And for the Republicans, Ron DeSantis has taken 1st place over Nikki Haley by 3%. And pretty far behind Nikki Haley is Marco Rubio, and pretty nearly behind him is Ted Cruz. And as you can see on the middle 4, Elise Stefanik has lost a decent amount of her support. Kristi Noem, Liz Cheney, and Donald Trump Jr. all trail behind her. And at 1% each, Adam Kinzinger and Mitt Romney. For Iowa, Ron DeSantis takes a strong lead. And in New Hampshire, Nikki Haley takes the lead. And in Nevada, Nikki takes another lead. And in South Carolina, Nikki Haley takes the lead. So Ron DeSantis certainly has to make up ground. Meanwhile, Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio are usually in 3rd and 4th place, though in South Carolina, Marco Rubio actually was bumped down to 5th place. And we have our poll closings out of Iowa. It's the only state to have its caucus today, so let's see. We have a major projection. Andrew Yang will win the plurality of Iowa's 41 delegates. He will win the caucus essentially. It's a big win for him as he was behind in polling, but now he almost was an underdog, and now Andrew Yang will be the winner in Iowa. And as you can see, he has nearly beaten out Pete Buttigieg by about 1 delegate. Elizabeth Warren has done decently with 7 delegates, and Kamala Harris has 5 delegates. Meanwhile, Jon Ossoff actually tied with Kamala Harris, 5 delegates as well. Amy Klobuchar definitely underperformed what she needed to get, and has 3 delegates. Meanwhile, AOC and Roy Cooper both have 1. And for the Republicans, as expected, Ron DeSantis will take the plurality of the 40 delegates. As you can see, he beat Nikki Haley by about 5% and by 2 delegates. Meanwhile, Ted Cruz took 3rd place, about 3% over Marco Rubio. Elise Stefanik only has 2 delegates, and same with Liz Cheney and Donald Trump Jr. Kristi Noem has 1 delegate, and same with Adam Kinzinger and Mitt Romney. They both have 1 delegate. And as you can see on the primary map, Andrew Yang has about a 1 delegate lead over Pete Buttigieg. It is 10-9 for Yang, as you can see. And for the Republicans, it is actually a 2 delegate lead, slightly larger. Ron DeSantis has 11 to Nikki Haley's 9. And Mitt Romney has announced that he will exit the 2024 race after a very disappointing performance in this Iowa caucus. Same thing with Tammy Baldwin. She was from Wisconsin and was counting on a strong finish in Iowa to give her a lot more support, but she did not get that, and she's leaving the race without making an endorsement specifically. But she said that she will support the Democratic nominee, whoever that may be. Adam Kinzinger has also led the 2024 race, similar to Mitt Romney. He got very little support nationwide and in Iowa, so he's leaving the race. And Tulsi Gabbard also getting very very low support. Not even a single delegate in Iowa is leaving. And Kristi Noem has also suspended her 2024 campaign. And Connor Lamb is the next dropout from the Democratic field. And as you can see for New Hampshire, it is pretty similar, as Kamala Harris is actually in 5th place, and Pete Buttigieg and Elizabeth Warren are battling it out. Meanwhile, Andrew Yang has some bumped up support, same with Jon Ossoff. And for New Hampshire on the Republican side, Nikki Haley is still leading, with Ron DeSantis in 2nd. Meanwhile, Lisa Stefanik is actually at 10% in 4th place. If she actually has a strong finish in New Hampshire, Stefanik could actually do a lot better on the national stage. And we have our poll closings from New Hampshire. We can project that the New Hampshire primary will give the plurality of its delegates to Elizabeth Warren. As expected via polls, Elizabeth Warren will win the plurality. As you can see, she has beat Pete Buttigieg by about 5% and 1 delegate. Meanwhile, Andrew Yang actually has 3 delegates and 12%. Same thing with Kamala Harris. And actually Jon Ossoff doing very well, better than expected. Meanwhile, Roy Cooper took 8% and 2 delegates, and Amy Klobuchar and AOC have 4% and 1 delegate each. And we can project that Ron DeSantis, defying expectations, will win the New Hampshire primary on the Republican side. He won the plurality of the 22 delegates. Polls actually had Nikki Haley ahead, but Ron DeSantis will beat her by a solid 5% and 1 delegate. Meanwhile, Elise Stefanik did not get into the top 4, and Ted Cruz has actually taken 13% and 3 delegates, which is about 5% behind Marco Rubio's 18% and 4 delegates. As you can see, Elise Stefanik really underperformed expectations, only getting 9% and 2 delegates. Meanwhile, Liz Cheney and Donald Trump Jr. both got 4% and 1 delegate. And as you can see on the map, Pete Buttigieg has actually taken the lead over Andrew Yang, another 1 delegate lead. Not very good, but still it's a lead nonetheless. And for the Republican Party, Ron DeSantis has actually won the state of New Hampshire, defying the previous expectations, and is continuing his 2 delegate lead over Haley. And for Nevada, we can project that polling is actually very interesting. Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris are both very, very close so far, and Jon Ossoff is about 3% behind Warren and 4% behind Kamala Harris. Meanwhile, Pete Buttigieg is lagging behind the rest of the field in 4th place. But if Jon Ossoff can make a win here, or at least finish in a strong 2nd, he can make himself a much more serious contender. And for the Republicans, Nikki Haley has been bumped down to 3rd place, about 2% behind Rubio and 4% behind Ron DeSantis, who is taking the lead as the front runner. And we have our poll closings from Nevada. We have a major projection to make. Nevada will get the plurality of its delegates to Jon Ossoff. This is a big win for him, as he was behind in polling and now will leap over Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris in order to win. Here is the extended list. As you can see, he got 25% and 9 delegates. Meanwhile, both Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren had 22% and 8 delegates, and Pete Buttigieg lags behind with 13% and 5 delegates. Jon Ossoff got strong suburban support and Latino support, showing that he has a lot of appeal in his campaign. And as you can see, Andrew Yang did not do too badly, as he got 11% and 4 delegates. Meanwhile, Roy Cooper and AOC got 2% and 1 delegate, and Amy Klobuchar got 0% of the delegates and 0% of the vote. And we can project that the Nevada Republican primary will go to Marco Rubio. This is a big win for him, as he was behind in polling and will overleap Ron DeSantis. As you can see, he's actually not even overleaping Ron DeSantis, but he's actually beating out Nikki Haley, who has outperformed expectations and beaten out Ron DeSantis by about 4%, but lost to Marco Rubio by about 4% as well, getting 5 delegates herself, while Marco Rubio has 6 delegates. It certainly seems like Nikki Haley's 2nd place finish here is actually pulling a lot of attention away from Marco Rubio, which could definitely hurt his campaign. And for Nevada, as you can see in the extended results, Elise Stefanik, Liz Cheney, and Donald Trump Jr. all have 8% and 2 delegates. And as you can see on the primary map, Elizabeth Warren has overtaken Pete Buttigieg and Andrew Yang, going into 1st place, a 2 delegate lead over Pete Buttigieg, who's been bumped down a spot. But as you can see, actually, Jon Ossoff and Andrew Yang are tied for 3rd place. And we have a primary map for the Republican Party. Ron DeSantis has a far more narrow lead over Nikki Haley now. It is about 1 delegate. And Amy Klobuchar has announced that she will be dropping out of the 2024 race. She's not naming an endorsement right now, but has pledged to support the Democratic nominee, whoever they may be. Elise Stefanik has also suspended her 2024 campaign after getting very lackluster support nationwide and in the primaries. Same thing with AOC. She had very little support and only got about one delegate at most. She also has been endorsed Elizabeth Warren for president, as she called her the true progressive in the race. And as you can see in the South Carolina polling, it is actually now tied between Jon Ossoff and Kamala Harris. This is very good for Jon Ossoff. He needs to win this primary in order to make himself a major contender and a possible nominee. Meanwhile, 10% behind both those two candidates is Roy Cooper, and 5% behind him is Elizabeth Warren. And in South Carolina, Nikki Haley, whose support here was once very high, as she's a former governor of the state, has actually dropped a lot her support, and she's now 5% ahead of Ron DeSantis. Meanwhile, Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio are battling it out for 3rd and 4th place. And we have our poll closings from South Carolina. Let's see what we have a major projection. South Carolina will give the plurality of its delegates to Jon Ossoff, meaning that he has beaten Kamala Harris and made himself a potential nominee and even the front runner. Let's check out the extended results. He has beaten Kamala Harris by about 2%, and we believe that there's might be a mix-up with the results so far, as we actually have some Nevada caucus data, but we'll get past that. As you can see, though, Jon Ossoff has won. And same thing on the other side, we have some more of the data in now. Andrew Yang beat out Pete Buttigieg for 5th place. And we can project the South Carolina primary will give its the plurality of its 50 delegates to Nikki Haley, its former governor, as expected. Check out the extended results. Nikki Haley has defied expectations, beating Ron DeSantis by an entire 16% and 8 delegates. This is the win she needed, defying expectations beforehand and gaining her former base that allowed her to win the governorship of the state twice, to rally around her and beat Ron DeSantis. As you can see on the extended list, Liz Cheney and Donald Trump Jr. did very poorly. And on the primary map, as you can see, Jon Ossoff has taken the lead over Elizabeth Warren by about 2 delegates. They now are pretty far ahead over the rest of the candidates like Pete Buttigieg and Andrew Yang, the former frontrunners. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris is actually in 3rd place by about 1 delegate behind Elizabeth Warren. Nikki Haley has taken the lead over Ron DeSantis in the biggest that we've seen yet for either party, 7 delegates. She has won the South Carolina primary, and that is very big for her. And Liz Cheney has announced that she is dropping out of the 2024 race. She's not making an endorsement, as most of the other anti-Trump candidates have dropped out already. And Donald Trump Jr. has also left the primary field, and he endorsed Ron DeSantis over Nikki Haley. And we have our poll closing on Super Tuesday, the largest batch. As you can see, we weren't even able to fill out all the correct state names, so we apologize for that. And Alabama, we will project that it will give its delegates to Jon Ossoff. We can project that Ron DeSantis will win the same primary on the Republican side. American Samoa will give the majority of its delegates to Kamala Harris. And Arkansas will give its delegates to Jon Ossoff. Ron DeSantis will win Arkansas on the Republican side. Meanwhile, California will give its delegates to Kamala Harris, but this is actually a plurality, not as big of a win as she needed, but it's 416 delegates, a big win. And California on the Republican side has given its delegates to Nikki Haley, a big win for Nikki Haley, as she really needed to win the state in order to beat out Ron DeSantis. In Colorado, a very progressive state, 67 delegates will go to Elizabeth Warren. Meanwhile, Colorado on the Republican side will give its delegates to Nikki Haley. Maine will give its delegates to Elizabeth Warren, another win for her, and it will give its delegates to Nikki Haley on the Republican side. Massachusetts, Elizabeth Warren's home state, will give its delegates to Elizabeth Warren, the next in a string of win for hers. Meanwhile, Massachusetts will also give its delegates on the Republican side to Nikki Haley, another in a series of wins for Haley. Minnesota will go to Pete Buttigieg. Meanwhile, Ron DeSantis will win it on the Republican side. North Carolina will go to his governor, Roy Cooper, a big win for him. And it will go to Ron DeSantis on the other side of the aisle. And Oklahoma will give its delegates to Jon Ossoff. It will give its delegates on the Republican side to Ron DeSantis. Tennessee will give its delegates to Jon Ossoff, and on the GOP side to Ron DeSantis. And Texas, a very big win for Jon Ossoff, one of the biggest states. This actually may come after both Beto O'Rourke and Julian Castro endorsed Jon Ossoff a bit, which was essential for him to win. He's doing very well in the Rio Grande Valley, the suburbs of Dallas and Fort Worth, and in the urban areas as well. And he's beat out Kamala Harris, who was his main challenger in this primary specifically. You can also project that Texas will go to Nikki Haley. It is very close between her and Ron DeSantis, but we can project that Haley will win. And in Utah, we can also project that Elizabeth Warren will win this primary. Same thing with the GOP, Nikki Haley will win. And in Vermont, Bernie Sanders' home state, who actually endorsed Elizabeth Warren, Warren will win. And in Vermont, Nikki Haley will win. And in Virginia, Roy Cooper pulls out another win. And in Virginia, we can see that Nikki Haley has pulled out another win. And in the Democrats abroad, Jon Ossoff has gotten a large amount of the Democrats not currently in the United States to vote for him. And here's our primary map. As you can see, Jon Ossoff now holds a 100 delegate lead over Kamala Harris, who despite winning only 2 primaries is actually in second place. Meanwhile, Elizabeth Warren has about 200 delegates, and Pete Buttigieg has 156. And Andrew Yang has 130, while Roy Cooper has 191. Things are certainly not shaping out the way we thought they would. For example, Andrew Yang won the state of Iowa, Pete Buttigieg came close. Meanwhile, Elizabeth Warren won the state of New Hampshire, and Pete Buttigieg also came close to winning that state as well. So we thought it'd be between Yang, Buttigieg, if I can pronounce his name correctly, and Warren. Meanwhile, Jon Ossoff, actually the underdog in this race, has won several essential primaries like Nevada, South Carolina, and Texas, also coming close in states like California, and he's taken first place. Kamala Harris did very poorly in these states, but did really well in the South and in her home state, and that has given her second place. Meanwhile, on the Republican side, it is far closer. Nikki Haley has 353 delegates, and Ron DeSantis 324. Marco Rubio has only won a single primary, and that was in Nevada. Ted Cruz has not won any, and that is very bad for their campaign. Only 4 candidates are actually left in the Republican primary. We can project that Marco Rubio will lead the 2024 race after winning only 1 primary in a very distant third place. He has been battling out Ted Cruz for third place the entire time and not even made it into the top 2. Roy Cooper has exited the 2024 primary after only winning 2 states, his home state of North Carolina and narrowly winning the state of Virginia. Ted Cruz has also suspended his home state, his campaign after not winning his home state. Sorry, I got those mixed up, but Ted Cruz did not do very well and is now suspending his campaign. Andrew Yang has also stopped his 2024 run. He has said that he will support the Democratic nominee, but has a preference for Jon Ossoff, which was very, very big, as Jon Ossoff will now get a lot of Andrew Yang support, but he actually will not get his delegates. Pete Buttigieg has also, in a surprise, left the 2024 field. He was doing pretty well early on, but actually only won a single primary, and that was a primary in Minnesota. And he actually endorsed Jon Ossoff over Kamala Harris, similar to Andrew Yang. This will be very good for Ossoff as he's gaining a lot more of the candidate support. And thank you all for watching. The primaries will be in an upcoming video, the part 2. I decided to just get pretty much all of the primaries knocked out in one video, so hope you enjoyed this. Sorry, I stuttered a lot. I kind of trouble pronouncing a lot of stuff, so sorry about that. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified as the name suggests. Leave a comment telling me what you thought of the video, maybe any predictions you have for the future. Who do you think the Democratic nominee will be, and who do you think the GOP nominee will be? It'd be pretty interesting to see how that shapes out. But I will be working on the second part of this, and hopefully it'll come out soon. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.